Hello everyone, it's Captain Sensible here. Now the fragrance I'm looking at today is Ralph Lauren Polo by Armani. I don't really rate this one, to be honest. I'd skip it if I was you. Now we're going to be putting a new feature in at the beginning of the videos, and that's my advice section. So I've been asking viewers for letters asking for advice, and we've got a letter here from Mandy in Ipswich. Now she says, last week I went out in the car, but after about half a mile it suddenly stopped for no apparent reason and it wouldn't restart. I walked home and I went back into the house only to find my husband in bed with my neighbour Tracy. I was absolutely devastated as I considered Tracy a friend and we often popped into each other's places for a coffee and a chat. Have you any advice for me? Right, now if the car suddenly stopped for no apparent reason, one likely reason for that is the alternator. They often go, and it might be that needs to be replaced. To be honest, I'd get it to your nearest reputable garage, get it looked at by a professional, and they should be able to help identify the problem. I hope that helps, Mandy. Thanks very much. See you in the next video, folks.
Hello and welcome back to all of you in the Smelly Army. So today we're going to be having a look at some really great long-lasting, fresh, modern smelling men's fragrances. You can sample all of these at the sponsors of today's video. That's Fragrance Samples UK, my recommended place to buy fragrance samples. And there's a link to their website in the description below. They actually ship to the UK and 14 other EU countries, which you can find listed in the description, and you'll find those countries as options at the checkout. And they provide a really great service. They've got an amazing range of over, I think, 600 designer and niche fragrance samples that you can get there. There's so many good ones on there that I've discovered from samples from Fragrance Samples UK. Can't recommend the concept of sampling highly enough, because of course many of us do probably waste a few pounds on blind buying bottles of fragrances that we turn out not to love. So let's get into the subject for today's video then. 5 long-lasting, modern smelling fragrances for men. So of course, and they're all fresh. So fresh fragrances are lovely, particularly now spring and summer coming up. And it's great to smell citrusy, vibrant, bright, fresh. Everyone loves fresh fragrances, and I'm definitely no different. However, a lot of the time, these freshies tend not to last as well as some of the more rich and heavy fragrances, but there are many exceptions to that out there, and I'm going to highlight a few of them today. Very much gone with a kind of modern smelling theme today, so we're not going to include any of my old school favourite fougere green smelling fragrances. These are very much ones that young people can wear, people of all ages, and there's nothing dated smelling here. These are real crowd pleasers, and they should please those crowds even more because they last well on your skin. You're going to get smelled. So let's get stuck into it. The first one that I'm going to talk about, actually, it's an honourable mention. It's the only one in the list that I don't own a full bottle of yet. So this is Acqua di Gio Profumo. Bit of a cliche, it's been talked about for many years. It came out, I think, back in 2015, and it's a sequel or a flanker to the original Acqua di Gio fragrance. That came out way back in the mid-90s, a very bright, fresh, aquatic fragrance. And Acqua di Gio has a similar kind of description that I would give it. It's very bright, it's very aquatic smelling, but Alberto Marias, the perfumer of the original fragrance, has added a little bit more something, a little bit more depth. There's a bit of patchouli and incense, along with bergamot, and a lot of very, very bright, fresh notes. There's a bit of rosemary in there as well. Very, very long-lasting. It has a certain aquatic feel, but something of a slightly more modern feel than the mid-90s typical aquatic scent has been added with this addition of the patchouli and the incense. For me, I've just somehow never got round to getting a bottle, and maybe because it's quite ubiquitous, a lot of people do know of this one now. That's made me not plump for it, but it's really, really a great safe choice for any man of any age. It's going to last well. It smells really, really mass appealing, and it's a classy smell, great performance, and well worth checking out. Don't forget, guys, if you're enjoying the video, please subscribe by clicking the button down below, then you won't miss any of my future videos. Moving on then, let's get into the other ones where I do have bottles. Now, this is, I'm afraid, an Aventus themed fragrance, but you've got to have one of those in your fresh fragrance arsenal, I think. And this one is one of the best out there, I think. This is Emperor from Parfums Vintage. So Pineapple Vintage Emperor, the full title. You may well know that many of the Parfums vintage fragrances are different takes on Aventus, and they're just always trying to change this. Some are very, very fresh, some are a bit more smoky. I'm not quite sure what they're doing with so many different versions, but if you want to ask my humble opinion for the ones I've tried, I really like Emperor from Parfums Vintage. So it has the pineapple, the bergamot of the very, very famous Creed's Aventus, and in some ways it kind of bypasses the issues that we have now with some of the batches of Aventus not being as strong as they used to be, things that people don't like about Aventus now compared to the original. Parfums Vintage, they're all really, really strong, and they're all really, really juicy and bright. This one has a perfect balance with a little bit of that undertone of smoky birchwood. Great, great performance, lasts absolutely ages. There's even an extract version, which you can also sample at Fragrance Samples UK if you want to compare the two. I'm perfectly happy with the normal Eau de Parfum version of Emperor. So if you want that Aventus feel for a slightly lower price, it's not the cheapest fragrance in the world if you want a full bottle, but it could be worth the money, I think. But get a sample first and see if you agree with me. But yeah, definitely a good choice. Probably just about my top at the moment Aventus themed fragrance. Good choice. Okay, now I may shock and horrify a few viewers, but again, the theme of the video, modern smelling, long-lasting fresh fragrances for men. And our great friend, Jeremy Fragrance, has delivered that a while back now with Office for Men. The fragrance has been criticised by some people as smelling synthetic. Some people feel that it's not very new or innovative smelling. It is very, very bright. It is very potent. It has a lot of aroma chemicals that help it to last and project really well. It's very, very fresh. He's billed it as a sort of safe office scent, I guess, but I think it's actually really a little bit, almost a bit too powerful for the office. It's a really great summer, spring, night out fragrance. Very, very bright, very crisp. It's got bergamot. It's got elements of maybe Dewar Sauvage with that kind of ambroxan, synthetic woodiness, the shower gel type smell. It's really bright, it's really sharp, it's really zesty, and it's very, very mass appealing. I think, younger ladies are likely to find this appealing, and because actually, Jeremy Fragrance, big deal maybe for many of us who watch fragrance videos, we've all heard of him, but the average person in the street certainly hasn't heard of Jeremy Fragrance, and they're unlikely to have this. This won't sell anywhere near as many units as Dewar Sauvage, so people won't know quite the smell they're experiencing, but they really will smell you. It's not my personal massive favourite ever fragrance, but I think if you wanted compliments and you wanted to wear something that the average person in the street perhaps doesn't have and that lasts really well, I have to be honest with you guys. Some of you younger viewers may be watching. Office for Men does deliver a lot of longevity and a very, very bright, crowd-pleasing smell. That's what we're after in the video today. So the next one that I'm going to talk about is Poseidon in the Caribbean from Dewar Fragrances. New in at Fragrance Samples UK. You can now sample some of the stuff from Dewar, and this is a brilliant hybrid fragrance. It combines the notes of Creed's Virgin Island Water with Creed's Aventus to create something really unique and new. I get a really strong reminiscence of Virgin Island Water, but there's just this kind of twist on it. It's not obvious to me that it's Aventus that they've thrown in there, but it's a little different to Virgin Island Water. And the key point on this one is it really, really lasts well. It's got that lovely lime and coconut from Virgin Island Water, very bright, very summery, and it just seems to persist. It's a bit linear, it doesn't really develop and go through a wonderful journey of different stages, but it just smells really bright, really vibrant, really kind of puts a smile on your face, and it lasts for ages. So I think it's a really good option, and as many of my regular viewers will know, I am a fan of Dewar because very often they provide fresh fragrances which last. That's a good thing in my opinion. So check it out, get a sample, see if you agree with me. Finally then, I'm almost feeling a bit guilty, but I don't consider this an Aventus clone. Some people have compared this to Aventus. I think it's very, very different actually now, having thought about it for many years. Cedrat Boise from Mancera. I've mentioned this so many times on the channel, but facts are stubborn things. And Cedrat Boise is a brilliant, really, really long-lasting, juicy, vibrant, enticing fragrance. It's kind of unisex in a way. It's got notes in it which include lemon and blackcurrant. There are some floral notes. There's a kind of white musky base, a beautiful cedarwood undertone to this one. Very, very long lasting. There's a vanilla note in there as well, which gives it this real kind of crowd pleasing element. People like sweet smells, but this is overwhelmingly fresh, but with a little bit of an undertone of sweetness. It persists on skin for me for ages and ages, really projects in the air. Be careful with this one. And I think comparisons to Aventus somewhat valid, but it's by no means a clone. It does its own thing. It's a little bit more sweet and a little bit more fruity. If you like fruitier batches of Aventus, yes, it's not a clone. It's a great niche brand. Performance through the roof. Jack Blase, I think, well worth a go. So thank you ever so much for watching, everyone. Let me know what you thought of my picks in the comments below. Do check out Fragrance Samples UK. And remember, guys, whatever you're doing in life, let's project. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.